Good afternoon and welcome to the JB Show. You're watching the JB Show live on Fred Hampton Leftist Network. Today we have a very special guest, a comrade of mine that I've been wanting to have on the show for a while, and he is also part of the organization for the March for Medicare for All, healthcare for all enthusiasts and activists, Sharif Snuggs. Good afternoon, Sharif.
Oh, James, thank you so much for bringing me on the show, dude. I'm super excited. I love you guys' work.
Thank you.
Anytime I get a chance to
Thank you.
just be work with you guys is amazing. Seriously, I can't. Biggest thing I can't wait for this fall is the General Strike Summit. That's what I'm really excited about.
Yeah, definitely. In fact, actually, just to the rest of the audience, what Sharif actually was alluding to is yes, we will be having a general strike summit, and that's going to be, I think, the second week of
It's
August.
it's November 12th to the 14th.
Yeah, 12th to the 14th of
Yeah,
November.
yeah.
So it was basically a brainchild by Compton J. Um, and this is one of the reasons why I love having him in the group because he is a brilliant guy and he was able to come up with this. And so I'm quite happy about it. But um, we're talking about healthcare today. But before we do that, I just want to give some hellos and shout outs to people in the chat because this is an interactive program and I like to get perspectives from people because look, I like to cooperate and collaborate, and the people who are in the chat are also just as much as part of the show as either one of us are.
Right.
Uh, Quaker Socialist, how's it going? Malik, good to see you back. Hey, Holly, Laura, yes, General Strike. Holly, thank you so much. And Holly's also excited to see you, Sharif. Yeah. Let me see. Whatever, man. How's it going? Come on in, pour on in, everybody. Okay,
That's right.
all right,
Get on
family.
in.
So we're gonna have a good discussion because you guys have heard me speak about this more often than not, right? But it's also always good to give other people who may not have a platform like I do to be able to speak about these things because they're also on the front lines, especially when it comes to activism. I'm kind of a baby as far as an activist goes. So people who are more, trained in it and people who have more experience with it are really the people who I want to focus the voice of. And after that, I'm not going to talk that much longer because I can talk a lot. Um, but one of the first things that I want to do is I want the audience to know you just a little bit.
Right.
What started your the need and the desire to become an activist?
It's a bit of a cliche for me because I've kind of give this story all the time, but it
Hmm.
was COVID. The
Hmm.
moment COVID happened, and when Bernie Sanders said now wasn't time for Medicare for all, that was like a huge red flag for me. Because before then,
You're breaking up.
oh, that's gonna be the whole interview.
Hmm.
Like most people, I'd stay at home, watch
Hmm.
your show, watch Jimmy Dore, watch Grandma Wood, a lot of the left leaning shows.
Yeah.
Huge big fan. So I wasn't had no inkling of no desire to be an activist organizer. So when COVID happened and
Hmm.
when Bernie dropped the ball, in my opinion, I didn't
Yeah.
want to. I didn't want to sit on the couch anymore. So I
Yeah.
wanted to actually be engaged. I want to be involved in my community because I
Hmm.
felt like you know Bernie was the only ally at that time in my mind that was really fighting for us. And I felt like when he said no, I felt, well, this the cat's out of the bag. We don't have any more allies anymore. So I waited like most
Hmm.
people. I stayed home and social distance and all that kind of stuff. But then when Forced to Vote happened, which was like another big eye opener for me, I felt like, yeah, now I need to be an activist and organizer. So I joined certain Slack groups.
Yeah.
I do other people's social media kind of pages and went in certain people's forums and started asking questions and started poking around and started asking people, other organizers, what's the next step? We have COVID. What are we going to do? How are we going to get healthcare for people? This is the time. What are we going to do? And so no answer that I got, James, was like good enough for me. So because other like groups like, no stab at MPP or any other group, but I don't know what they was waiting on. And so I talked to other activists and other organizers who kind of like had my desire, who also didn't want to wait for anyone else. So we decided to have a march.
Okay.
So the first march was obviously DC. That was the first one we was planning. And then that snowballed because everyone else wanted to be involved. But also too, we didn't know how we was going to get people to DC because we had that financial limitation. So we kind of made it a campaign, which was like the best thing we can do. We have social media, we have the internet, so we can reach out to folks, we can communicate with folks.
Yeah. Okay, you're cutting out again.
Ooh. So the thing is that we were saying that a lot of people was coming at us saying that you're not going to organize people through Twitter. I says, well, we have.
Yeah.
we was very successful in that regard.
Yeah, definitely.
Right. And so I had a lot of big brothers and sisters a lot of comrades who were extremely helpful in the movement that really worked with us. It was super helpful, like Laura Felding, Savage Joy was extremely helpful, Andre Stackhouse, Georgia Davenport. There were a lot of people organizing activists who are seasoned, who have a lot more years of experience than I did, was super helpful. So it wasn't like, yes, I was very active and I did a lot of work, but there was training involved in the sense that I asked a lot of questions. I was going to these leaders, I was going to these other comrades and getting suggestions and getting notes from them to have a successful event. So I still do that now. I still reach out to people and ask questions and pick people's brains and kind of see where people are, because activism is relatively new to me. I just started like late last year. When Forced to Vote happened, that's kind of when I started. Yeah.
Okay, so thank you very much for that. I loved how you spoke about how you reached out because you didn't see enough happening. That's pretty, gutsy, because the thing is that a lot of us will just, kind of get apathetic and say, well, there's not much else we can do. I'm just one person. But you said, no, the hell with that. I'm going to do something. I mean, we got communication. We have an open field of communication, because the one thing that the capitalists weren't, hedging their bets on was that we on the left, we definitely know how to communicate. So,
right.
We're doing that. As many people are, pouring in, they see the title of the video, the live stream is Stolen Health. Just before I give any explanation, Sharif, what do you think that I meant by putting in stolen health?
Stolen health is very similar like stolen wealth.
Yeah.
It's very in sync. The fact that when you go to work, right, you don't get paid enough for your labor. Same with healthcare. How much money and investment and how much of your life you put into this system, right? Because we're all part of this system. We're saying this system is we accept this system, right? And we're feeding into the system, no matter what it is, either through socially, through economically. There's so many different ways that you are part of this system. Yeah. And the reason why it's stolen health for me is because if we're all part of the ecosystem, and if you're not getting that health that you need, it's stolen. You're basically saying that your value in this system isn't really value. So, but if you don't have value, right, then why are we allowed in this system, or why are we participating in this system? Why don't we destroy this system and create a new system where we do have that wealth, or when we do have that health? Yeah. And so it is stolen. A lot of people don't understand that the fact that you are participating in this system, you should get the same benefit that everyone else get in the system.
Yeah.
And that's the issue.
Hmm. Yeah. So one of the things that I meant by stolen, health is basically like stolen wealth. I don't care what anyone's opinion is on it. Healthcare is a human right.
Damn right.
I accept that as objective fact. That's not my opinion.
Right.
Healthcare is a human right
Right.
because without healthcare, the human race would go extinct.
Exactly.
So therefore, it behooves us to
Right.
help out one another so that the human species continues to survive. And
Absolutely.
and if you have somebody that has the other opinion that no, it's not a right, it's a privilege, then
Hmm.
therefore, then they can lose that privilege too. You can take that away. And guess
Right.
what? If I took the privilege of life from you, then guess what? You can't arrest me for it because I didn't take your right away.
Right.
Isn't life a right? So
Right.
health should be a right as well, right?
Right.
Because
Right.
that's what keeps you alive.
Right.
So that's the thing is that the United States, and I said this, I think I said this in the tweet. The United States, even if, let's say, for the argument's sake, you have a lot of people say because 9/11 was yesterday. People will say that 9/11 was an inside job. The United States did something. I'll be one that says the United States isn't guilty preventing something. See, the United States works on this perpetual cycle of neglect.
Right.
And if something comes along, this is live, people.
Oh, James, yeah, James, you broke up.
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you. You broke up too. The
Okay,
screen was kind
okay.
of frozen.
Yeah, I saw it was going, so yeah, that's why I
Right.
paused for a second. Um, but yeah, so the whole thing about you know the United States, actively doing something. Yeah, of course they actively do stuff.
Right.
But my point is that there's a lot that they neglect. Look at the COVID crisis. They knew there was steps that they could have took for
Absolutely.
this.
Absolutely. And they're
So
still doing it. They're still neglecting COVID. That's my
yeah,
biggest argument. They're still neglecting COVID.
exactly. So my point is that if I'm sitting here and I see somebody doing something wrong and I could change it, but I don't, and I'm allowing it, that means I'm just as bad as actually doing it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. 100%.
Our wealth, which is our health, is
Right.
literally being actively stolen against us. So
Right.
that's basically why I put the title of it.
You're 100% spot on, James, about that. 100%. And, oh, you're frozen again.
Am I good?
Yeah, you're good now. Yeah.
Okay.
No, I agree with you 1,000%. Not one
Mhm.
talking point you made I disagree with. I'm full disclosure, I'm biased.
Mhm.
The thing is, I think in that regard, I think most people now, and correct me if you think differently, more people now believe that healthcare is a human right. The
Yeah, I think
difference
so.
is right. You have the right to healthcare, but if you can't afford it, that's your fault. So you have the right, to go to the doctor if you get sick,
Mhm.
to see a nurse, to be vaccinated. But if you can't afford the Metro card or you can't afford money to get to the hospital, that's your fault. If you can't
Mhm.
afford to pay your medical bills, that's your fault. You did it to yourself.
Mhm.
No one else did it, right?
Mhm.
But the issue does become, well, why does that person can't afford the transportation to get to the doctor? How come that person doesn't have the means to pay their medical bills? So that becomes the issue. That's the real issue that most people don't want to touch on, because again, it breaks their worldview of the fact that I think that one of
You're
the things that I
breaking.
want.
You're breaking
How
up.
about now? How about now?
Yeah, you're good now.
I mentioned this yesterday on a podcast that my goal is to reach across the aisle, get more conservatives that to join
Hmm.
us in the movement, because that's one of the things I wanted to talk to you about too. And I think you guys, the Fred Hampton
Hmm.
Leftists, do a really good job at doing deep dives into how do
Hmm.
you reach out to people who disagree with you on the left. And I think that's something that we really need to start doing with healthcare, because
Hmm.
we all get sick, we all go to the doctor. There's
Yeah.
You can't politicize that. That's something 100% that we're all going to go to at one point in our life. We're all going to go to the doctor. We're all going to get sick. It's going to happen. So at the end of the day, this is something that you can't politicize. You can't use any weaselly language to litigate that. That's off the table. Healthcare is one of the things that everyone's going to have to approach at one point in their life.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, look, people could say, "Oh, well, this is a left issue." I'm sorry. Diabetes does not care if it's a left issue.
Right.
Your leg broken in a car crash does not care if you're left or right.
Right.
Just like the issue about war, they had the Indian Wars rally yesterday, which I
Right.
do applaud them for.
Right.
Um, at the same time, healthcare, healthcare is a universal issue because without it, we all be dead. Because some type of healthcare was applied to you throughout your life, from the womb to the tomb. Most of us were born in a hospital. So therefore, that was our first experience with actual healthcare. In fact, not even before we were born, when they were using the ultrasound to see us when we were still in the womb. That was our
Right.
first experience with healthcare.
Right.
So, and then even some people who will say, "Oh, well, I have my child at home, blah blah blah." You still administered healthcare
Right.
to the mother
Right.
and the infant. So it's still in a sense healthcare. So go ahead. You're breaking up a little bit.
Oh, how about now?
You're good.
No, it's still tied together. I mean, whether you have a midwife, whether you give birth at home or whether you give birth in the hospital, it's still health at the end of the day. I mean,
Yeah.
it's we have we have to start hijacking the messaging when it comes to healthcare. I
Yeah.
think that's going to be really. I think that's the next step for us in this movement. Is that we have to. I mentioned yesterday that I want to do a campaign at some point to get healthcare is a human right on the Constitution, because I think that once we use that as like a buffer or as a weapon, I think that we're in a good spot, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um my homie Quaker socialist, um she said we on the Medicare for all are trying to follow powerful supporters of NHS. Can you suggest accounts? Um so my thing is a lot of people who are on the left, of course they'll say they're for Medicare for all. And that's fine, that's good, you know. We need some type of health care for people. Um I've said this at the March for Medicare for All in Orlando, that Medicare for All actually doesn't go far enough to me.
It doesn't. It really doesn't.
And a lot of people will look at me and go, "Wait, you want but that's socialized." It's like, "No, it's not.
Right.
Medicare for All is not socialized healthcare. It's
Right.
not. I want socialized healthcare. That's not it." So you look at the hospitals, the medical
Mhm.
manufacturers, the pharmaceutical companies, those do not fall under Medicare for all. You can, do negotiations, things like that, but hospitals are still going to charge out, the ass for certain procedures, even though the procedures don't cost that much to do. Like for
Right.
instance, you have one procedure that costs $2,000 at one hospital, and then another hospital within the same area costs $14,000. That's not that's inconsistent,
Right.
right? So
This is
I
all
want
prioritized. because
Yeah.
it's competition.
Hmm.
They treat healthcare like you're going into like a restaurant. One restaurant will charge you $15 for a burger. Another restaurant may charge you $5 for a burger. So they treat it the exact same way. And then when people realize that that's the system, that's the game they're playing with healthcare, like then you can understand this is not we're not talking
Hmm.
about people eating a sandwich here. We're actually talking about people's lives. And you can't use the same argument for that.
No, no.
Yeah.
And you know what? Un- Unless you're gonna dip my crab in clarified butter for me, yeah, I want all the prices to be the same. And trust me, I do love my crab dipped in clarified butter. But I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Sometimes we got to get on some serious subjects, and sometimes we just got to break the ice and make it a little bit funny. You know what I mean? But
uh,
here I'm talking
oh
about.
man,
We talking about healthcare, and I'm talking about clarified butter.
butter. I love that.
Ooh, baby, come
All right.
on, man.
I know what
We're
you're
talking
having for
about being
lunch.
healthy here.
I know what you're having for lunch.
I ain't that rich. Um, but no. And just to let you know, our my fellow FHL co-hosts Sabby Sabs and Nick Socialist MMA, they're in the chat too. So just wanted to give a shout out to them.
Love Sabrina. Sabrina's amazing.
Yeah, yeah. Well, everybody loves Sabrina. Like, what else? Um, that's like saying you love Sabrina is like saying that you love ice cream. Like, shit, duh. Like,
Like
what
no
the hell?
duh.
Like everybody loves ice cream. Like, get the hell out of here. Um, shout out to love Sabrina. But there were
Uh,
some interesting things that uh that you brought up. One of them was, you know, how can we get the disability community more involved in activism? This is actually a really good but pressing question,
mhm,
particularly because I also identify as disabled. Well, because I have
mhm,
dialysis 3 times a week, I have to do that.
mhm.
If I don't do dialysis consistently for 2 weeks, then I die. Whatever. So, um, one of the things that is, and some of us who are disabled do ask this question, and we're like, what can we do? Um, have you thought of any ideas, or did you want to try to brainstorm ideas? Because we could do that right here, live.
No,
Uh,
yeah.
uh, but
No,
what's some ideas that you had regarding this?
no, I actually that's something that I've actually been trying to rack my brain over.
Yeah.
And I felt like James, you would be like the perfect person to kind of talk to because you have had a disability panel before.
Hmm.
And so that's why I felt like if I'm going to bring this up, because I actually, full disclosure, a lot of my teammates will tell you that I've always sit down thinking of other ideas of like, how can we grow the movement? How can we get other folks involved? I mentioned earlier about getting conservatives because I actually sit down and think about, okay,
Hmm.
how can we get these people? How can we get these people? How can we get these people? What is the best angle?
Yeah. Yeah.
How do we grow the army? How do we get more boots on the ground? Because that's my whole focus. How do we
Yeah.
get boots on the ground? And so that's because I feel street heat is the most important thing. I know
Yeah.
I mentioned the fact that a lot of people believe in electoral solutions. I do not. I
Okay.
believe in pressure. So that's why I said, well, if we can get more of the disability folks involved in activism, and we get more conservatives involved in activism and get
Yeah.
anyone else that we don't normally see in this space, I think that we're in a really good start. We're in a really good position to actually get Medicare for all because I think it's a winnable fight, in my opinion.
Hmm. Yeah.
But I wouldn't mind hashing out some.
Hmm.
What do you think the base?
You're cutting in and out.
Okay, what do you think
Mm.
other than probably like getting around? What do you think is probably like the hardest thing? Why you think a lot of disability folks don't get involved in activism? Because I can understand
Um.
like if you can't move, you can only do so much, right? So it'd be really
Hmm.
difficult for you to be engaged. So
Hmm.
that's a fair point. But other than that, what do you think probably why they don't as much? You don't see as much.
Um. Part of it, I think, is because they may not be invited.
Interesting. Okay.
Um. And it also could be a part of, sometimes we may feel like we're inadequate in some way. Like
Hmm.
we want to, but at the same time it's like, yeah, I can do this, but I can only do just a little bit.
Right.
And I think one of the keys for people who are disabled in this fight is to say to yourself, even if you can do just a little bit,
Right.
that's enough.
It really
Mhm.
is. It really is.
And I hate to put this in militaristic terms, but if you look at the military, not every single soldier is on the front line.
Right. You cut out again, James.
Am I back?
You back? Yeah.
Okay. Some, you have some of them flying drones. You have some of them, piloting submarines,
Hmm.
or they're in jets, or they're calling the shots from behind the lines.
Hmm.
You have so many different pieces within that. Same thing with us. Some of us may not be able to get out there pounding the pavement,
Right.
but are some of us good at making signs? Are some of us good at, connecting people via social media? Are some of us good at computer graphics? Are some of
Right.
us good at, do we have a great voice, but and then we can just, put it out into the ether so that
Right.
it catches other people's attention?
Right.
Do we even still, even if you're an able-bodied person, have you been talking to your family members about
This issue.
healthcare?
Right.
Because you
Right.
don't necessarily have to be out there pounding the pavement. You can literally pound the pavement at home with
Right.
people who don't have any idea of what a universal healthcare system entails.
Right.
And the biggest thing against it all the time is, well, we just can't afford it. And it's like, no,
Yeah.
we
Money's not an
can.
issue. Right. We
That,
can 100%.
and are
Right.
you educated in that? And if not, then you can ask different people who know more about this subject to help you to be educated on it, and then come with
Right.
receipts. But
Right.
I think that there's a lot that those of us who are disabled can do. It's just we don't have to be so solely focused on one particular aspect of activism. Pounding the pavement and being in the streets is only one part. I
Right.
mean, there's other parts
Right.
that you can give attention to as well.
Absolutely. Right. Absolutely. There's a volunteer part of whole Washington. I'm going to shout her out. Her name is Liliana.
Mhm.
And she's part of disabled. She's part of the disability community. And something she always says to me, I'm not I don't know what my place is here. That says you're a volunteer. You have a place here already.
Yeah.
And there's always something for you to do. And reaching out to, and she does a lot of great work for whole Washington. And even when she even came to March for Medicare for All meetings, she was very helpful as well. She was super helpful. I just think a lot of folks sometimes feel that, not even people who have a disability
Cutting in and out again.
who kind of like, so I see that both ways. I mean,
Mhm.
we all get like that. Even for me, myself, when I first started out, I felt like, I need to learn more. That's why I was going to so many meetings, because I felt like, well, I need to learn because I don't want to let people down. I was really afraid that, I was going to organize a march and it wasn't going to be successful, or I was going to lead people astray. So I just felt like I had to like constantly go to different meetings.
Mhm.
So I definitely understand that point of not feeling inadequate. So I think that's something that we as a community need to make our comrades feel welcomed
Mhm.
and make them feel like just the fact that they actually are volunteering and actually are talking about this topic is enough. Because I don't think we
Mhm.
give ourselves enough credit. The
Yeah.
conversation from the fact that years ago you talk about Medicare for all, like, what are you talking about? Now you bring it up. A lot of people know what you're talking about, and I think that's an accomplishment that we need to celebrate.
It is. Yeah.
Right.
I
Right.
I I fully agree with that. And the thing is that we on the left, we have always been the ones that have to push the envelope because the Overton window
100%.
has been shifted so far to the right to the point where they're okay with neglecting human rights like
Hmm.
healthcare.
Right.
So we're constantly on that tug of war trying to pull back and say absolutely not. Healthcare is absolutely a human right. We should not be having these for-profit wars, and then we keep with every single pull.
Hmm.
So the fact that we're able to make Medicare for all you got to do is say Medicare for all, and everybody instantly knows exactly what you're talking about.
Right.
And I'll give credit to Bernie Sanders for that. I definitely
Right.
will.
Right. I will too.
You know, but
Here's a
we're
thought.
always. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I'm sorry. I was saying, here's a thought. How would it be important?
You're cutting in now. You're still cutting in and out a little bit.
Oh, ouch.
Oh, you're good now. Okay.
All right. I was gonna ask, how would it be? Would it be in poor taste to have like a disability summit with community focus on asking the community what do they feel they're missing in their community, like specifically tailored to people who identify as someone who is disabled, like reaching out to the community and saying that we want you to feel included. How do you want to be included? What do you
Oh,
feel you what do you feel you're missing so that we make them feel like they're not like it's like an other thing, like they're over here and we're over here, sort of thing.
um, you know, having summits again. I mean,
Right.
we can definitely do that. But it also depends on how you treat people in everyday life.
Right.
Um,
Right.
because it's just like okay, it's just like with liberals with having the hashtag Black Lives Matter in their bio.
Right. Right.
They
Same thing.
say they
They
say it,
say it right, but they don't mean it.
but
They don't mean it.
do they mean
Right.
it? And the thing
Right.
is that how you mean it is how your everyday actions, because
Right.
you cannot have that hashtag in your bio, but if I see you actually treating as if we do matter,
Right.
then I already know that Black Lives Matter to people like you. Like,
Right.
for instance, I know Black Lives Matter to people like Carrie, Andy, and Meg, and Fred Hampton Leftists. They don't even have to have it in their bio, but I know it matters to them because they act as if it matters to them because they treat it
Right.
as a serious issue.
Right.
So I don't have to have that question. I don't
Right.
need you to put a
Right.
label on it.
Right.
The same thing is with those of us who are disabled. If
Right.
you're treating us in a way where you acknowledge what our limitations are, but also you accept it and you also treat us as human beings, as equal human beings,
Right.
then yeah, of course. I mean, that definitely helps. It's the the kind of it's like a kind of a disrespectful undertone that some can take, or kind of like an air of saviorship.
Right.
Because some of us don't want to be saved.
Right.
We already are our own person, but
Right.
at the same time, it's also recognize that you know, you know, I'm in this chair, or I have these crutches, or I can't leave my house, or I have, uh, uh, you know, uh, my energy is sapped very easily.
Right.
Acknowledge these things, but don't necessarily treat that person like they're less than, even
Right.
if it's the oh, treat them like they're less than in
Right.
that way. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's
Right.
kind of hard for me to explain, but
No, I
and a
know.
lot.
No, I understand exactly what you mean because there are certain things that we don't think about. Like I was in a meeting with another group, another organization,
Hmm.
and there was a woman there who was in a wheelchair, and she was talking about the accessibility of wheelchairs in New York City, and how
Hmm.
that is still a terrible and poor issue. And
Hmm.
so stuff like that, making this person feel like that matters and that's an important issue, that things that I think stuff like that, just addressing that because that's something that I don't think about. Just being honest with
Hmm.
you, because again, I'm not part of that community, but that's
Hmm.
something that we all need to worry. That's something we all need to identify
Mm-hmm.
and make it a priority so people in our community don't feel like, they're alone. So,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Yeah. Um, just like Bill Bradley said, virtue signaling has been commodified. For example, the more a corporation
100%.
virtue signals, the more they're worth. Literally, their ESG score goes up and their valuation goes up. Yeah. So they'll like, for instance, you'll have maybe a commercial by Procter and Gamble for one of their companies, and they'll display somebody who is disabled. But how are they treating their disabled workers at their
Right,
factories?
right,
You know what I mean?
right. No, for sure. I mean, virtual signaling, it has its place.
Yeah.
It has its place, but as long as, again, as long as you are living up to that virtual signal, I don't have a problem with you.
Yeah, yeah. I
I don't
mean,
have a problem with
if
you.
if, if you're gonna do that, then walk the walk. If you're gonna talk the talk, that's
Exactly. Yes.
basically.
Yes.
Yeah. Hmm.
Exactly. Exactly. 100%. And that's the whole thing with the healthcare as a human right argument. I want to. I understand that it's a virtual signal. Did I want to add it to the amendment to the Constitution? I'm aware of that,
Hmm.
but that's necessary to get people engaged into the conversation.
Hmm.
So I'm aware of that being a problem, that we as a country, we like sloganeers. We like slogans. You
Yeah,
know,
we do.
we're very much you know we have to have some type of like song and dance to get us to pay attention to certain issues.
I agree with that. Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Well, that's because we live in a hyper capitalist state that basically pushes commerce. So you have to push your activism almost like it's a product, so
Yes.
that people
Yes.
will become attracted to it and then
Yes.
realize that we actually need it. Because the thing is that
Yes.
you have to formulate your campaigns and even your talking points when you go even door to door, so that you can actually sell the point
Right.
of healthcare or housing as a human right.
Right.
So
I mean,
you
that's what we did. That's what we did for the march. I mean,
yeah.
that's what we did for the march. We made it into a campaign because, again, we marketed the shit out of that march to get people to show up, because it wasn't just enough to say that people were dying. We had
Hmm.
to make it an
Hmm.
successful.
You're cutting in and out.
No, I was saying that's another reason why I was successful. Yeah,
Yeah.
for that reason. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. And I
yeah,
think that that's one thing that we are trying to, it's sad that we have to do it, but that's the only way we know how right now.
right,
We have to do it
for
that
sure.
way. Like for instance, I can literally cover more people doing a live stream right now than I do in a neighborhood, and I can do it in a shorter amount of time.
Right,
Um, but at the same time, doing it the old school way is a surefire way as well. So,
right.
talking to people, personally. Um, but yeah, that was a great question, especially about how do we as disabled people feel. I think that we should, uh, I think that we should be included, and more invites need to be made. You
No,
know,
for sure. I'm going to work
uh,
on that too, because that's
yeah,
really important. That's something I've been thinking about,
yep,
how to approach that. Because when I went to those two, when I um had the discussion with the woman from Whole Washington, and I was at this other organization, hearing
hmm,
those stories really made me think about that. Because, to be honest with you, I wasn't thinking about that, and
hmm,
that's also a problem in itself. Just being honest about the
hmm,
fact that I'm not thinking about how the disabled community is being represented in my community.
hmm,
That's also an issue that we also need to be honest with ourselves and say, hey, this is something that we need to address, that we need to fix that. That's a problem.
hmm,
Yeah.
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 Um, so this actually goes into the next one, and the discussion of escalation and direct action.
Mm-hmm.
We touched on it for the most part, but
Mm-hmm.
um, and what I said about disabled people who they don't have to necessarily be in the streets for activism, this not only applies to people who are disabled. And when I say disabled, I'm not
Mm.
just talking about physical disability.
Right.
I'm talking about also disabilities that may inhibit us mentally.
Right.
You know what I mean? So
Right.
those of us
Right.
who are neurodivergent or
Right.
may suffer from different
Right.
depressive or intellectual issues or
Right.
emotional issues, there's
Right.
still something that we can do. We may not be able to do as much as the others. And one thing, do not compare yourself to others in this fight. Do what you can
Right.
and leave the rest. Because
Right.
the rest of us will pick it back up. We're
Right.
collaborators.
Right.
We're cooperators. We're not capitalists. We're not going to be the ones who try to compete with you to look better. No,
Right.
you did what you could. Now we can pick up the rest and do what we can, and that's it.
Right.
You
Right.
know what I mean? So
Right. No, I
I
agree.
just wanted to put that out there because I don't want people to feel inadequate in this fight. I don't care if
Right.
you throw only one punch and then dude next to you throws 300 punches. You threw that one punch that helped.
Right.
You know what I
Agreed.
mean?
Agreed.
You're cutting in and out again a little bit.
Yeah,
Just
I
hang
brought this
on.
up.
Okay, good.
Yeah, I brought this up before in other podcasts,
Hmm.
but this is a really big important issue to me that having escalation in the healthcare in healthcare activism.
Hmm.
Direct actions need not to only be marches, rallies, demonstrations. We need to have more arrest risk actions in healthcare. Um, I've been to a few meetings with Black Lives Matter protesters, with people who are fighting for immigrant rights, and they do these trainings how you actually deal with law enforcement at a demonstration
Hmm.
that I don't really see in healthcare activism. I haven't seen that yet.
Mm.
If it is there, I would love to work with those folks. If they can reach out to me, that'd be great. But I haven't
Hmm.
seen it yet. And I reached out to some of these folks, and my goal now is to do some trainings here in New York for people who want to fight for healthcare justice. And hopefully, if I'm successful, I want to go across the country with anyone who is advocating for healthcare justice to do some of these direct action trainings because we need to apply, we need to have disruptions. We need to apply more pressure than we are applying right now. We need a
Hmm.
situation. So yes, we are going to have general strikes for sure. That needs to happen. But we also need to do, if we are going to have demonstrations and we are going to protest someone's home, someone's business, someone's office, we need to be in a situation where we get the news, we get some news coverage
Yeah.
from major news because we can't just have local, and we just can't have local news, and we just can't have podcasters talking about so and so got arrested. We need Fox News. We need all the major news outlets covering, different protests and different demonstrations. So if that means someone needs to get locked up for that to happen, that needs to happen. So and so, Sharif Snuggs got arrested today for protesting Richard Neal's house because he wants Medicare for all. That needs to be a headline. That
Yeah.
needs to be out there. And so people start the conversation about why would he do that? And then we can address that issue because otherwise, if it's not on the mainstream media, unfortunately, most Americans don't know this exists. We have to realize that the left, we're a very small microcosm in this battle. We think that we're this, and we're really this small. We're really
Hmm.
small. We're really tiny. Like we don't realize how powerful the mainstream media is. Like our actions are important. It does move the needle, and we do help. But we need to go much bigger, big picture, big picture.
Yeah.
We really do.
Yeah. And that involves also talking to people who we don't agree with.
Absolutely, 100%, 100%.
because if you look at, let's say, the population of people who are independent, they're greater than the population of people who identify as Democrat or Republican.
Yes,
So some of those people may have opinions that we don't necessarily agree with,
right.
but in order to convert people to move to, I'd say, the center, really, which is
Mm-hmm.
Medicare for all, is the center, um, then you have to reason with them
Mm-hmm.
and bring out the logical argument. It's
Mm-hmm.
easy and it's comfortable to talk to people who already agree with you.
Right. Of
You know,
course. Yeah.
the challenge is talking to people who don't agree with you, who don't feel that healthcare is a right,
Right.
because now you have to educate them on how it's a right and why it's a right. You know, you cut in and out a little bit.
James, that actually helps us sharpen our tools on the left. If I talk to you about an issue, right, that you agree with,
Hmm.
I'm not battle tested, and I'm not. It's like boxing, right?
Hmm.
If I constantly fight the same person I know I can beat, I'm not growing as a fighter, right?
Hmm.
So I actually need to challenge myself by going in the ring with someone that could probably beat me, right? So
Hmm.
as a leftist or someone who agrees with Medicare for all, I need to go out there and talk to people that disagree with me,
Hmm.
because not only that it grows the movement, but also it helps me sharpen my argument, and it
Yeah.
gives me more context to what I need to do to grow the movement. So that's
Yeah.
something that we need to realize, that it's not about just talking to people who agree with you. We have to be more battle tested. We have to be able to be ready when someone throws a punch. We know how to avoid it,
Hmm.
because unfortunately we're we don't have fighters. We're not strong enough to handle. We haven't really gone the distance, in my opinion. None of these people that we disagree with, like Nancy Pelosi and Joe Biden, they're not afraid of us. They're
No,
not.
no,
They're not shitting. They're not shitting in their pants. Like,
no.
there's nothing that we've done on the left that makes me feel that Nancy Pelosi is worried about her losing her job. Nothing.
The fear won't be there. Look, we can talk about pitchforks and torches all day long, but until we actually
Right.
pick up the pitchforks and torches and go
Right.
to the front of their house and knock on their door, police style,
Right.
they're not going to be scared. Because here's the thing,
Right.
unfortunately, fear works,
Fear does work. Real,
and
real good.
but it depends on who's the one in fear.
Right.
Right now, they learn how to turn that around and make us the ones that are scared.
Right.
But it shouldn't be that way.
Right.
They should be in fear of us, the
Right.
proletariat, the
Right.
the regular people. I'm not
Right.
talking about
100%.
I'm not talking about the corporations and the big money people, because the thing is that ultimately, what are the big corporations going to do if they don't do their bidding? They're just going to take their money away. They still
Right.
have everything else. It's fine. But the
Right.
thing is that we need to make it so that if they make us angry,
Right. No,
th-
for sure. We do need to go after these corporate. We do need to go after the pharmaceutical companies. We do need to go after insurance companies as well. We need to attack them. We need to move away from just protesting politicians.
hmm
We have to show up to, like, the headquarters of Blue Cross Blue Shield, go to any other pharmaceutical company and go to their headquarters and say, listen, we need to fix this. This is not acceptable. We're not having this anymore. We need to really have, when I'm talking about major disruptions, I'm talking about showing up to people's office, knocking on their doors and saying, listen, what are you going to do about this? How are you going to fix this? How are you going to make it better?
making it so loud in their neighborhood that they can't fall asleep.
Absolutely.
You know,
That needs to happen.
and the thing is that these are things that can happen. The thing is that who's willing, and the thing
Right
is
here. I'm ready.
communicating to people who we don't necessarily agree with that would be willing. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Right.
Because I'm gonna be honest, there are some of those dudes that they may sound and behave like they're on the right, but they want universal health care. Look, would they be willing to stand with us,
Right.
exercising their Second Amendment right while they defend us as we protest for health care?
Right.
Could we
Right.
utilize some people who are like that? You
Right.
know what I mean? So we
Right.
have to kind of get ourselves out of this box of thinking, "Oh, I'm on the left. I only want to talk to people who are on the left." We can't sit here and tell white people that
Right.
if you want to be an ally, then you need to talk be anti-racist and talk to your racist, you know, uncles and aunts and cousins and grandparents, and yet we're sitting here on the left, but we don't say a word to our liberal aunts, uncles, and
Right.
cousins, and we don't say anything to them. We don't when they talk BS about, oh, it's your fault that you're poor and it's your fault that you don't have health care. Wait, that's when we need to go, whoa, 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 whoa. Are you saying that this person doesn't have a right to life? We
Right.
need to do that within our own families. Even if even if you have liberal or conservative family members, you got to do that too.
100%. I
We all
have
have to
discussed.
do it.
I have discussions with my aunt all the time.
Hmm.
Um, a lot of um, a lot of my team members on the March
Hmm.
Medical have heard me mention about my aunt Arlene all the time. She's one of these people who feel like, I have my health care, you don't. That's your fault. Go out there and get a job. Stop being lazy. She's one of
Yeah.
those people, and we
Yeah.
all have those people in our family. And I always
Oh
have
yeah.
discussions with her all the time about this. And
Hmm.
so, that's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about making your family members uncomfortable because of your position. How many people are willing to do that? I'm doing it already,
Yeah.
and we have to do that. We have to go in our own community and reach out to our family members and our friends and our neighbors that may disagree with us, and that's fine. But at least you're arguing your position. At least you're if you're not going to get everybody, that's fine. But at least you're making your voice. You're making your case be heard. That's what's important.
People who aren't educated in a particular thing tend to disagree with it when they first hear about it.
Of
It's
course,
just going to happen,
right?
you know.
Absolutely,
And the thing is that as you continue to keep talking about it and then bringing receipts, or like for instance, there's something
one
on
hundred
the
percent.
news about somebody who is suffering, from some disease that they never asked for, and then it comes up on the news and they're talking about their medical bills and whatnot. That's a perfect time to go, if we had universal health care, that person wouldn't have to worry about it.
Right,
And you keep hammering it,
right.
because this stuff's not going to happen overnight.
And it takes bravery. It takes a little bravery. So if you know, I live in Jackson Heights, and
Hmm.
so that's AOC's district. And so I used to protest in front of AOC's office, and it was very challenging because I'm in the Lions Den. I don't know if you know, her district is pretty strong. They love her there. They
Ah.
love her there. So
Hmm.
you talk about her. People used to come up to me like, "Do you know who you're protesting?" I was like, "Yeah, I know who I'm protesting," and she's not doing a damn thing. That's why I'm out here. Okay,
Hmm.
that's why I'm
Yeah.
out here.
Yeah.
That's why I'm out
Because
here. What is she
because
doing?
it's like, if you're why aren't you out here?
Right,
It's like,
exactly.
why are you just staying at home? Like,
Right,
don't you need health care? What?
right,
And I think we also have to be ones who are brave enough to tell people, some people,
right, right.
that, look, if they haven't done it by now, then we need to
Never,
stay on their ass, because they work for us. They work
yes,
for us. That's the way it is. And
right,
the, we have to get out of this celebrity mindset of, oh, because they're famous, oh, they have this many followers, oh, they do a broadcast on Twitch and get millions of followers. Yeah, it doesn't matter. They're still our employee,
right.
you
One hundred
know.
percent. 100%.
Yeah.
It's gonna be hard for people to get to that position. It really
Hmm.
is. It's gonna get hard. People. We're gonna get people there. It's gonna take time, but
Yeah.
that's the issue. Is because AOC is, and not just AOC. I don't want to keep picking on her, but she is a celebrity first, politician second. That's the
Hmm.
problem.
Yeah.
That is the issue. That's the issue.
Yeah. Well, and unfortunately, it is a we live in a society of optics. It just
Yes.
has to look good. It doesn't have to be
Yes.
good. It just has to
Yes.
look good.
Look good. Right.
And I'm sick and tired of
It's a
people
fashion
giving.
show.
Yeah, I'm tired of people giving me a pile of shit with sprinkles and telling me it's chocolate ice cream. Like, don't do that to me. Don't piss on my leg and tell me it's raining. All right. I know it's a lot of toilet humor, but the effect still remains the same. It's
Right.
all
Right.
optics,
It's
right?
100% optics. 100%.
Yeah, and so it's like, look at me. I'm saying all these right things, and I put my fist up at the right time. I'm like, did you get that? Did you get that? Oh, well, come on this angle. Put it on my good side. Okay, now we can do it. And that's the way that it's being spoon fed to us.
That's what
But
Cory
here,
Bush did in DC.
yeah, that's
That's what
like
right,
that's like okay, that's like going to a car show and you got the body of the car looking beautiful, banging, slamming. But then when you go to that car show and every one of them motherfuckers is a mechanic and they all want to look up the hood. That's the left. We all want to look up under the hood. We're like, okay, it looks good on the outside. Let's see. Oh, look, the manifold is shot. You have a bad intercooler. Look, what happened to your water pump? You ain't even got a water pump in this car. God damn it. What the hell's wrong with you? And so this is what we're doing. We're
right,
actually looking under the hood. And you have some that are going, no, 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 no. Don't look under the hood. Why you gotta look under the hood for? Just trust us and see that the car worked. We drove it here anyway, right? And we're like, yeah, no, no, no. We need to check under the hood. We need to see how the
right,
transmission is doing. We don't just trust you at your word. And so
right,
this is the thing that a lot of us are getting to now. We don't trust certain people at their word.
right,
Never, ever trust a politician.
right,
Ever. That's
right,
your default position. It's never trust the
right,
thing that they say. I don't
right,
trust a politician until the bill is signed and put
right,
into law. That's it.
right.
And that's when I'll trust what the politician says.
Even for people, even people who believe in electoral solutions, right? At least come to the position that you need to pressure people
Hmm.
who said they was going to do something. That's my biggest issue with people that who believe in electoral solutions. Like AOC said she was going to fight for this issue. Why hasn't she done this issue yet? What's the reason behind that she hasn't provided a professional campaign for Medicare for all during a global pandemic?
Hmm.
No one has met the moment. Not one politician. Zero.
Hmm. Hmm.
Zero.
Hmm.
Why is
Yeah.
that? And I think that with all these um, disruptions, like these strikes that's going on across the country, there's been multiple different strikes in multiple different industries. I think the great unmasking is happening. I think people are starting to understand that they need a fair shake. There's no going back to normal. I think certain people are starting to realize that there is no going back to normal, and certain people
Yeah.
aren't. But the ones who are striking, we had so many strikes this year. I think people are starting to realize that, and I think that's what the escalation needs to keep it be about. It needs
Yeah.
that we need to have this general strike.
Yeah. No time
Yeah,
to yes. You said people that trust politicians need to experience real hardship. I don't
one hundred
even
percent.
say I'm gonna push back a little bit. They don't necessarily need to experience it, but they definitely need to see it.
Right.
Because there are some people who are what we like to call class traders,
Mm-hmm.
and they already are uncomfortable with how we're being treated. You have
Right.
some people like I have a friend. He is solidly middle class, owns a home, and they live a pretty privileged life. But to him, it's like, yeah, no, screw this. We need
Right.
Medicare. We need single payer healthcare for everybody.
Right. Right.
And he doesn't trust the duopoly at all.
Right.
And he is uncomfortable with what people like us go through. He's
Right.
uncomfortable with
Right.
seeing how black people are treated systemically.
Right.
So he didn't necessarily have to experience it, but he
Right.
saw it.
Right.
Now, will some people have to experience it?
Yes.
Unfortunately, that
Yes.
is
Someone who
a
will.
fact of life because some
Right.
people don't learn anything until it blows up in their face.
Right.
It's just real.
Yes.
I
Yes. It is
don't
one hundred
want.
percent.
I'll put it this way: I don't want them to have to experience it in order to understand it,
No one
but
should.
some of them may have to experience it,
Right. I
and
mean,
that's that part. Yeah.
some people are going through that now. So
Hmm.
James, when I was in Philly, when I was in DC for the march, when I went to Philly,
Hmm.
because I'm in this documentary, the Kenny Ballantyne's doing this healthcare documentary. I went to
Hmm.
Philly, and even when I went to Seattle,
Hmm.
for the Red Berets event, and there's so many tent cities in this country. I keep bringing it up because it's not a surprise to me, but just seeing the amount of people who are homeless because it's really
You're
some of this.
breaking up.
No, I'm pretty sure you see some of this in Florida too.
Hmm.
The amount of people that are homeless because of the pandemic is awful, and they're and their needs are not being met. This issue is not being addressed, and it's really
Yeah.
awful to see this.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
the imperialism
Yeah.
does suck.
Yeah. I'm in Florida, so I
Right, right,
mean, everybody
mm,
everybody knows what we're going through
right,
because it's always
right.
out on display. Florida is a clusterfuck of just everything.
Yeah.
Um, yeah.
I mean, it's bad here in New York too. But when I went to Seattle, I think Seattle was the worst I've seen it with the tents. It really made my stomach turn. To be honest with you, I looked around at people like I don't understand how people can just think this is normal and this is okay.
Yeah. I
It's
mean,
it's really
yeah.
awful.
Yeah. And so if if I was a politician and I was riding through my district, if I see a homeless person, I feel like I failed. I would feel
Right,
like I failed.
right,
I wouldn't even put the onus on oh the Republicans or oh Joe Manchin, oh
right,
Kristen Cinema. I'd be like, no, I failed.
right,
I failed. And the
right.
thing is that we got to get to a point where we we need politicians who really don't give a shit about being there.
Mm.
They just want to get things done.
Why
And
do
the
you
thing,
think? Again, I'm sorry.
I think that unfortunately, no movement has ever succeeded because of a politician.
None,
Politician is
zero,
just a means to an end.
zero. I actually said this yesterday. Again, same podcast that every social movement, like everyone mentions FDR. FDR was pushed. Lyndon B. Johnson was pushed. Richard
Hmm.
Nixon was pushed. Like the work line
Hmm.
was a politician or a president was nice. He was pushed. So we need a
Yeah.
pressure campaign. You need a giant pressure campaign. So this is why I don't believe in electoral politics because
Hmm.
if I still have to push a politician to do what I need them to do, you're not an ally. You're
Hmm.
not an ally. You're just not. So for anybody who believes in electoral solutions and say, well, this politician is going to be easier to push than this politician, sure, you can make that argument. But the fact that I have to push that person, keyword, push that person, they're not an ally. Because I
Yeah.
shouldn't have to push you to fix homelessness. I shouldn't have to push you to fix healthcare. I shouldn't have to push you to fix water. I shouldn't have to push you because people can't eat. That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
The push is the issue. You shouldn't have to be pushed on basic human decency. It's inhumane for me to have to knock on someone's door and say, listen, my neighbor can't eat tonight. Can we fix this problem? That's ridiculous.
Yeah. Politicians are like they're like tables without wheels. You have to
Right,
push them to move them,
right,
and just because they may have wheels, you still got to push.
right.
I mean, it's just like, yeah, no. Um, as
Why
far
do
as
you,
it, go ahead.
I'm sorry, no, I was going to say, why do you think we as a society, we tolerate this? Why do we say that this system, right, that allows so many people to be disenfranchised and say, oh, that just happens. That's okay.
Oh, that's easy answer.
Mm,
Not only the people have been propagandized, but also the politicians have been propagandized
mm,
because they think that all you
mm,
need is just a little bit of social mobility, and they don't even do that social mobility. They still believe in capitalism. Like
right,
every single person out there, they believe in capitalism. So they still believe the bootstraps narrative.
right, right,
Even Bernie
right,
still believes in the bootstraps narrative.
right,
He still believes in it,
right,
and we have to come to terms with that. Unfortunately, that's the way it is, and we have to be willing to speak with people who we don't agree with to let them know, hey, that how's that bootstraps narrative? How's that been working out for you?
right,
Do we
right,
live in a meritocracy? And some people
right,
will say yes, and I'm like, well, if we live in a meritocracy, then why do you have to work 2 or 3 jobs just to survive?
right.
You
Funny,
know,
yeah, yeah,
why
yeah,
why is it that that other guy doesn't have to? And don't
right,
give me this whole spiel about, well, this person is in this industry and that's why, and it's what's it called, supply and demand. And I'm like, no, 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 no.
no,
Because the thing is that a mechanic could work back then, you know, and have just as one income and provide for his entire household. So why has it changed?
Right.
And
My
every
argument.
sorry, go ahead.
No, no, go ahead, Jim. I'm sorry.
Yeah, and even some of the most staunch capitalists will even still say, "Well, yeah, we got to change some things. Some we need to change everything."
Right.
You know,
Right.
and we're getting to the point where um I'm assuming you're part of my generation. I'm a millennial, an older millennial, but still millennial. But we're now seeing our generation go, what the hell with this capitalism BS? What the hell?
Right.
You know? So
100%. No, I was going to mention the fact that if you have a job
hmm
that our community says is important, then that job should sustain that person. That's how I feel. It should be 1-to-1. It should be
hmm
a fair ratio.
hmm
So if we're saying that this job is benefiting my community and the community is saying that this is a job that we want to have, there's no
hmm
reason why that one individual, no matter what job it is, I don't care if you're you washing dishes or you're a mechanic or you're a doctor, you should
you're cutting in and out.
know what job is. If it's important, then you should be able to afford the cost of living.
Yeah. I mean the cost of living should be um the cost of living should be the ability for anyone to have a home. Like
Absolutely,
it's
100%.
it's silly.
Very simple. Very simple.
And the thing is that one of the points that you brought up was discussing how we reach out to people who we disagree on, even on the left. um these are universal truths that all we got to do is just bring these up, and then
Right.
people will talk about it. And a lot of people
Right.
will say, well, I came from nothing and look at me now. And it's like, yeah, but what about all the other people who tried to do the exact same thing that you did and they still didn't make it? Then what does that mean?
They
you
didn't work
know
hard enough. That's what they're going to tell you. They're going to tell you they didn't work hard enough, and that's the problem. We live in this world. We live in a society that feels that um again, we talking about meritocracy. My merit, my hard work got me the salary that I got me my success that I got. And the fact that you didn't make it is because you didn't want it bad enough. And so we believe in that. We
Mhm.
believe in that
Yeah.
a hard work equals a lot of money. And it's not true. Because
Yeah.
what CEO works hard? None. 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 None of them. They're not useful. None of the CEOs useful. They're not. What are they used for? Nothing. They don't do anything.
Oh yeah.
Like I work for a movie theater. I work for iPic. I don't know if you heard of iPic. There's a lot of iPics in Florida, so you might have heard of it.
Sounds familiar.
Yeah, it's a bougie movie theater. So the reason I'm able to even afford to even like take in my kids and pay rent is because I literally wait tables for the duopoly. Like the only people who can afford to even come to my job are Matt Damon and Ben Affleck, rich people, because it's so fucking expensive. A martini is $25. Just to let you just put it out there.
Hell
Um,
no.
right,
No.
right. So and so we just a lot of people.
You're cutting in and out.
We just recently had a discussion at my job
Okay.
about changing a lot of the benefits that we get at the workplace with a
hmm
lot of people leaving. I'm talking about from management, supervisors, and staff. It's that bad because there's so much money coming in, but very little is actually coming to us across the board. And so we're working on changes right now, and they're listening to some of the discussions that we're having because they can't get people fast enough to come in the job because they won't take the pay because it's so little.
Yeah.
And because they realize that because we're a $1 billion company, we're not like a small operation. So the corporations only respond to money because they're losing money. That's why they're listening, not
Oh yeah.
because they care about what I have to say. Their bottom line is being affected. So let me listen to what this guy has to say. That's the only reason why they give a shit.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
So I'm gonna give you a tiny little story. Okay.
yeah.
So there once was a young man named James, and he is a dialysis patient, and he drives on a paratransit service that takes him to and from dialysis 3 times a week. Um, During the pandemic, it was very tough because, you know, they had to be hyper vigilant. And this same company, because they weren't treating their workers good enough, they lost half of their workers in one weekend.
Wow.
Now, this company services the Tri County area of Orange, Osceola, and Seminole counties, and I think a little bit of Lake County. And so this is thousands of people they have to transport each day,
Mm,
and they lost half of their workers.
Jesus.
Then they decided, because a lot of people weren't coming back to work, right? It was that de facto general strike that happened. Then they said, okay, we're going to raise our rates to $15 an hour, and anybody who's working for us, we're going to give them a commensurate raise, right? Because they still didn't change the way they treated their workers, the remaining half, 60% of them quit last weekend. So
Wow.
now, so
Wow.
now the biggest paratransit service in Central Florida has just a handful of drivers because they refuse to raise the rates to a true living wage. $15 don't cut it.
I don't.
And, and on top of it, they're not treating their workers with the dignity that they so deserve. So guess what? Whenever I hear them complain, man, you know what? It would be really great if you guys actually owned the company and actually had a democratic say in how the company functions, and you guys, got to split the profits.
Right.
And I don't even say, oh, y'all need socialism. I could have just said that, but no, I gave a more nuanced argument.
Right.
And even if they disagree with the word socialism, they would agree with that. Well, yeah, we should own part of the company and blah blah blah, and split the profits, and we should be able to do that because it is fairness. Humans
Right.
respond kindly to fairness. And when
Right.
you put it in that way, then that's what it is. The same
Right.
thing with healthcare. Humans respond kindly to fairness. Wouldn't it be great if that dude that is homeless at the down the street has the same type of healthcare as a Jay Z, Beyonce, or uh, uh, Bill Gates?
Right.
Wouldn't it be fair because their life both matters the same, right?
Right.
And then when you explain that to people, they're like, well, yeah, so healthcare is a human right, right? Whoa, whoa, wait a minute. You said yes.
You did say yes. Right.
So the thing is that this is how part of the question that you were asking, which is like, how do we reach out to people who disagree with us on the left? You make it an issue of fairness.
Right.
And then once you make it an issue of fairness, they're going to go to the left every single time unless they're a sociopath. That's the way it works. So
Agreed. Totally agree. That's hilarious.
yeah, so it's just as long as you make it an issue of fairness, and people can't disagree. And then once they say something that's out of whack, you go, "Whoa, you for real?" And then it makes them question their belief system. It's just
Right.
like, well, I didn't mean it like that. It's like, but maybe that's
How do you
something
mean
that
it?
you need
Right.
to get through in
You
your
get
head.
you make them address them. You make them confront themselves because a lot of people don't self reflect. They're listening too much to the talking points they hear all the time.
Yeah.
Again, you have to shadow their worldview.
Yeah. But the thing is that one of the things, okay, so a lot of people probably know this by now. I was raised Jehovah's Witness. I was Jehovah's Witness for like 20 years. But one of the things that we were always taught, and this is one thing I will take away, is that you can't just take someone's ideology or belief system, lift it up in the air, and let it drop and smash it right in front of them.
Right.
They have to be willing to get rid of it themselves.
100%.
So
Absolutely. Absolutely.
you have to put the issue of fairness in their hands and say which one's fair, which one you're going to drop.
Right.
And they literally have to smash their own ideology, their own system of belief themselves in
Right.
order to be able to come to that conclusion. Because you can shine the light in their eyes all you want, but if somebody
Right.
doesn't want to wake up, they're going to keep their eyes closed.
Right.
You have to give it to them gradually.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And that's one of the things that I've found to be one of the best ways to try to convince people. Like whenever I come in contact with workers. Um,
Right.
but yeah, I mean that's one way we can definitely do it with healthcare.
That's also too going after. We're talking about workers. I think that's the biggest thing to get. We need to get more unions and more workers in this fight, because one of the
Hmm.
things that a lot of corporations do, they dangle healthcare in front of your face. So instead of, even my job do this too,
Hmm.
instead of giving people raises, they talk about, oh, we're gonna give you healthcare, or we're gonna improve the healthcare, or we're gonna add better service to your healthcare. And like, now your job is becoming an insurance company, like, which is ridiculous, because healthcare should not be tied to employment. Because I'm one of the people that when COVID happened, I didn't work, so I couldn't go to the doctor. So I was furloughed. So and I had to wait until I got my job back, which took a year. Even though I did work, but the job I actually had didn't offer healthcare. But I had to wait a year to get healthcare again. And so that's ridiculous. But that's the problem. The problem is that we need to get workers and get unions to say that this is not something that we're going to this is not something we're going to accept. You can't bargain healthcare with us. We need to let's focus on giving me a better salary, and we'll worry about healthcare with
You're breaking up.
last point. I was saying that we should talk to more unions and workers about
Hmm.
not allowing the employer to negotiate with healthcare, and remove that off the table.
Yeah.
But also the other issue is too, is that you run the risk for people who do have a lot of preconditions, who do work. And like, I know, like, my father used to work for the MTA, and
Hmm.
one of the people that worked there with him, she didn't retire. I don't know what her situation is now, but she didn't retire because she's getting employer based healthcare. And so her healthcare is tied. She has a precondition, so she had to keep working to actually go to the doctor, because once she loses her job, she don't get healthcare anymore. So that's another issue that we don't really talk about. So if you have a precondition, if your job is providing your healthcare, you're not going to fight your job, because you have to stay alive, right? So we have that's something that we don't really talk about, but it needs to be addressed. That's a trap. That's enslavement.
Oh
Full
yeah.
stop. Full
That that
stop.
that's a hostage situation.
100% hostage situation, and it
Yeah.
happens more often than people realize. It's
Hmm.
more common than people realize.
Okay. Yeah.
No.
I mean, um, my thing is we can't sit here and continue to let people stay hostage.
Right.
You know, and okay, so look at me. I have Medicare. I have Medicare because I have to have Medicare,
Mm-hmm.
right? And like, what would the alternative be for me? It
Right.
would be extremely expensive because I have pre, you know, a pre-existing condition, a very expensive pre-existing condition.
Right.
Um, and so I couldn't imagine being stuck at the same place and having to wait. For me, it would be over 30 years until I
Mm-hmm.
can actually get it through Medicare. Yeah, no, that wouldn't be able to work. And then you would have to basically be subject to the totalitarian methods that, these capitalist type of employers put you under. Like, no, mm-mm. That, and that takes your ability to be able to switch jobs, or even if you want to go into business for yourself, that takes that away.
Right.
You and there was this last point, says discussing how we should invest in our own healthcare system. That's a good question. Um, as far as investing in our own healthcare system, there are ways that we can go about it. I mean, the Black Panthers, they did a free clinic, um, and they were able to, you know, do some outpatient things that help people.
Right.
Um,
That's kind of like where I'm going with that too, in regards to my the kind of going the Black Panther route, what Fred Hampton did, in a sense
hmm
that not just having a free clinic, but also creating a own healthcare system that is completely owned by the community.
hmm
That's something that I'm thinking about.
hmm
I'm working with a few folks in regards to that. I'm thinking about how can we do that, get something community focused, because the government is not going to do it, big pharma is not going to do it, the insurance company is not going to do it. So what if, right? We take everyone. Let's say, where do you live in Florida, James?
I'm in Central Florida in Orlando.
So let's say, right, everyone in Orlando got together and said,
hmm
let's create a system that includes everyone in Orlando. We pay a small fee, everyone's
hmm
covered,
hmm
good to go, right? No matter
hmm
what it is. That's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about
You're
about
you're cutting in and out.
we always talk about land of opportunity. We always talk about put yourself about the bootstraps. We're always talking about we always talk about prioritizing everything. They only respond to money, right? But if we as a community, we fund our own system, we don't have to engage in their system. We
hmm
reach out to our own doctors, we reach out to the nurses, we reach out to all the members of our community and
hmm
say, we're going to pull resources, we'll pull funds to create our own system. So we include everyone.
hmm
That's what I'm talking about. I think that should also be another thing that we should think about and investing in. And that's something that I'm thinking about, other than a general strike, other than putting more pressure onto politicians. I'm trying to figure out a way where um, I can start reaching out to actuaries so we can actually figure out how the cost motive for this. Because something that is important in my mind, we need to start thinking like, stop asking these people to do things for us. Let's see if we can do it ourselves,
hmm
and let's see if that we can keep it in the community. Granted, it only helps. Let's say in this example, it only helps members in Orlando, right? Because you can only can afford it. You can only afford what you can do for your own community.
hmm
But what if, right?
hmm
Orlando gets really successful, and then the neighboring communities in Florida says, "Well, I want that too," because that's what's going to happen. So
hmm
then they take this model, and then they share this model, and then it keeps growing and
hmm
growing and growing until, if you know it, all of Florida have this model, and then people start hearing in other states, "Oh shit, Florida
hmm
has a free at the point of service healthcare
hmm
system outside of the
Yeah.
state."
Yeah.
That's where I think we should move. I think that is something that if they don't respond to our demands, which more likely they will not, which is fine. I think that we need to start reaching out to members of our community, no matter where their pay scale is, and say, how can we do this ourselves?
hmm Yeah. Um, Look, from what it sounds like, it's operating of a national healthcare service outside of the bounds, and you're taking away the uh, how they say supply and demand. You're taking away the demand, so therefore they're just left with the supply, and they're just like, where are the patients at? You know. Um, I like the idea. It's it's a huge, ambitious undertaking,
It
but
is.
but I mean, even if we can do even just a small percentage, you know, and take out some of that supply, that would be a game changer. And, you know, it would really force people to look and go, wait, why isn't the government doing this? I want to go to the super chat. Thanks, John Kelly. It says, "Go James B. I am disabled, working part time, and Social Security tossed me off for 8 months because they said I earn too much. I've been there. I have been there. Wrong.
Jesus.
I lost my insurance and ended up in hospital twice because I couldn't get medical supplies. See, here's the thing. I went through
Jesus.
what he went through. The only difference is I was lucky because I was able to get it back within a few months. I still literally I owe Social Security money because I quote unquote made too much. Because what Social Security gives us is inadequate,
It's
wholly
very much
inadequate.
so. Very much so. Jesus.
Um, and
John Kelly, I'm so
so
sorry, man. Jesus.
yeah, my heart goes out to you, John,
Yeah, seriously.
because you should not have to go through this.
No, right,
And I'm not sure of our age difference, but no
right,
matter what,
right.
the nation failed you.
100%.
If they failed you, um, and I know hearing apologies from myself and Sharif don't really put things back together for you, but we're trying, and I just appreciate your solidarity
Right.
because we, even if you were somebody that we completely disagree with politically, you still should not have to go through this because
No.
you're a human being.
Right.
Um, Sharif,
Wow.
your thoughts, man.
Yeah. Jesus.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
I just don't. Yeah, I just feel like things that John's going through. I think
yeah,
that we need to hear more examples like that to really push home
yeah,
why this is a problem. He's a human being, and he should, again, what your point was right. He's no one should have to go through this, and it just shows that you're slaughtering people, you're murdering people on purpose. You don't have to do this. There's no amount of money that says that this is acceptable behavior. What? How much? It's not even about money anymore, in my opinion. It's really about the fact that you feel that certain people deserve to live and certain people deserve to die. That's what it comes down to.
yeah. I
It's,
mean,
it's a class. It's 100%. It's a class issue. It's really about the fact that if you're not part of my team, so you deserve to die.
yeah, and
Because really, it's awful. It's really
yeah,
awful.
yeah, and you know what? Here's my thing. Um, and I like what Whipple Dingle Weeble Puffin. I always laugh at that name, and I love that I can say it perfectly each time. Fully dependent on Social Security disability insurance, and I don't dare make a move to earn money or I risk my entire family.
Yeah,
And
my friend of mine is going through that right now. My friend James Roman, he can't work
hmm
because the moment that he works, he's gonna lose the money that because he has I forgot his illness that he has. He has like
hmm
I forgot what it is, but his insurance covers all of all of it. It's a lot of money, and if he
hmm
makes anything that's above a certain amount, he loses that. And so the amount of money he would need to make to be able to afford it would be so
yeah,
much. It'd be astronomical.
yeah,
So he
yeah,
just doesn't work. He doesn't want to risk. He doesn't want to risk it. He'd rather just be poor and homeless
yeah,
and to have free healthcare. I mean, because
yeah,
that's ridiculous.
yeah. I literally have to have two insurances to cover me for dialysis.
Jesus.
That's what I have to have. I have to have two insurances, and on top of it, even if you make 1 cent
Over.
above
I know.
over,
I
they
know.
literally take your entire.
I know. My friend Roman's going through that right now. I know exactly
Oh,
what you're talking about. It's
it,
really
it,
people don't know unless you know someone or unless you're in that situation. They
yeah,
don't really think that
yeah,
it's not a penny over. It is a penny over. They really go just
yeah,
a little bit. They really
yeah,
cover you. They really take it
yeah.
away from you.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
John Kelly, he responded with another super chat. Thank you very much, John. Thank you guys, but I'm okay. They're trying to kill us all. Unfortunately, that's true.
Is that true?
Uh, I was lucky enough to have a good legal aid lawyer and a brother with deep pocket. Uh, even
Yeah.
still,
No, right. I
I
know. I
still
know.
just didn't want you to have to go through this.
No,
You
yeah, he
know?
shouldn't have to. His brother shouldn't have to. His brother shouldn't have to do that. He shouldn't have to get a lawyer to do that. That's what I'm
No.
talking about. There, even though that he's privileged enough to have that situation fixed for him, that shouldn't be a thing. It
Yeah,
shouldn't. It shouldn't be
yeah,
a thing.
yeah. Because that it shouldn't be a privilege in the first place.
Phrase,
You know
right.
what I mean?
That's the
It should
problem.
be something that is just you're taking care of.
Right.
You're a
That money
citizen.
should
You're a human
go.
being.
That money
Yeah,
should go to John's kids or John's family for going on vacation
yeah,
or spending time with loved ones. You shouldn't be worrying about that. That's ridiculous.
yeah.
That's not something you should be thinking about.
Yeah, and I understand that you're okay now, John, and I
Yeah.
appreciate you giving me an update on that.
Right.
But needless to say,
Right.
our heart still goes out to you because of the
Right.
history that you had to endure. You
Right.
know what I mean?
Exactly. Right. Right.
And you know the fact that a lot of us literally have to
Jesus.
depend, on a system that it is eugenics via neglect,
Yeah.
and that's what I've been wanting to say.
Right.
It's eugenics via neglect because we aren't the job creators.
Right.
We aren't the people that provide capital, even though
Right.
we actually do provide
Right.
capital, because
Capital.
without
Right.
us, they wouldn't have
We
anything.
have the
But
right.
they see us through the labor that we can produce, not the human value that we have.
Right. Right.
You know.
Right. I used to make a joke, saying that cops are in the wrong business. If they want to kill people and get away with it, they should work for health insurance.
Hmm.
They'll get away with it because none of those guys are ever in handcuffs. None of them ever in handcuffs
Hmm.
ever.
Hmm. Yeah. Uh, Bill Bradley. It took me 2 years from first application to winning my case. Yeah, I was the lucky one because as soon as they heard kidney dialysis, they were like, okay, we're gonna put you through. But
Right.
so many people aren't, don't have
Right.
this privilege. And the thing is that your Social Security disability is tied directly to your Medicare. So if you lose one, you lose the other.
Right.
And so if you're under 65 like myself,
Right.
and so I know that feeling.
And ask people too who have ask people who are over 65. They'll tell you Medicare sucks.
Yeah.
It sucks. It's not good.
Okay. So Medicare, it depends on what it is.
Right.
For me, Medicare has been okay because I haven't had to go get on the phone and argue with anybody.
Right.
It's just, I'm sick, I go to the hospital. But when that bill comes in, if that's a $10,000 bill, I got $2,000 to still pay.
Right.
And I have to have a second insurance to pick that up because I can't afford that $2,000.
Right.
And even then, the second insurance doesn't kick in sometimes because it's through the state. And you know how tight fisted they are. So
Right.
it stinks. And so, plus I got my SNAP benefits done cut. They can cut my food stamps and shit. You know, I was looking forward to getting some of that ocean spray juice, but it's just gonna have to wait. But but yeah, I mean, but seriously,
Uh,
they, uh, it's just they they want. It's just like with somebody who commented. I forgot who, but they want to put you in a position where you're under the threat of being homeless and without, so that
right.
it supposedly drives you to be more ambitious. And I'm
It
like,
doesn't.
how's that worked out for you?
Right. It doesn't. It
You
really
know,
doesn't.
um, going back to this, investing in our own healthcare system kind of takes that away, um, that dynamic of, oh, I need to participate in this system in order for me to be able to have something. It kind of takes and it kind of gives you a freedom, you
Right.
know,
Right.
of I don't have to engage in the system in order to get what I need to live.
Right. Right.
Hmm.
Right. What I'm getting at too is using their system or using their thing against them. Like, for example, the idea of competition, right? Like, what if there was a rival competition to the current healthcare system? Like you
Hmm.
have McDonald's, you have Burger King, you have Wendy's, you have all these different fast food chains. You don't have different healthcare chains, right? You only have one. So we need to create a system that is in competition with that. That's what I'm talking about.
Real competition, not the
Right,
kind that these cappies will tell you. Oh, we need to have competition in the
right,
marketplace. Yeah, no, no.
right,
I just want to, be helped. That's pretty
right,
much all I need. I
right,
don't need a competing doctor says, I'll get your tonsils out for 1,500. Oh, I'll get them out for 900. It's like, yeah, I just
right,
want somebody who is good enough that can do it. And look, I'll pay either one of you 1,500. I just want you guys to be good enough to take my tonsils out and I recover quickly. That's basically all I want.
right, right,
So
right.
um wait, Auntie Ann you'll be able to get some ocean spray juice this week, James. A little birdie told. Yo, by the way, I heard, and correct me on this if I'm wrong, but I heard Ocean Spray is actually the largest worker co-op in the United States. So
Is it really?
I that's what I heard. I hope that I'm correct on that information. But Ocean Spray is a farmer-owned worker co-op that
If
they. That's one of the reasons why I have like 4 bottles of Ocean Spray. I want the fifth bottle, but it's
if
whatever.
someone in the chat can Google that real quick, let's find
Yeah,
out because I would love to know that. I would love to know that because I'll buy ocean spray all the time now.
yeah, yeah. Because
I'm
I
serious.
mean, like
I'm
yeah,
serious.
Christmas is coming. Gonna get some of that cranberry juice. Mix it with a little vodka if you're feeling a little happy. You know what I'm saying? And do that, and then support a worker co. If it's actually confirmed that it's a worker co-op, I'm gonna
Oh,
be like, yo, I'm gonna try to get a job with Ocean Spray. I'm gonna put on one of them big ass long overalls. Yeah, have the submerged water, all the ocean spray cranberries.
oh man,
Oh man, I'd be
that's hysterical.
yeah.
That's the new. That's the move. We need to do that. That needs to be more active. We need more worker co-ops for sure. Bless you.
I wasn't expecting that. Thank God I muted myself.
Oh man.
But yeah, all that talk about cranberries done got me hyped. So you know how dogs they tend to sneeze when they get really happy and excited. That was me getting really happy and excited. So oh my goodness, Chris Frederick, the snozberries taste like snozberries. Well, I did snoz, and we were talking about berries, so um, and you know what? Ultimately, and I'm gonna tie this in even with the way how we approach health, because our health and our wealth is basically being stolen also by big agriculture because they want to fill us with salt, fat, and sugar all the time.
Right,
So if we can have something like that and then combine it with local farming,
right,
local growing,
right,
then it's like, for instance, um, Mr. Sharif, it looks like you have, the flu. I recommend that you get, some tea with some fresh ginger. Actually, here's a prescription. I want you to go to the farmer and then ask them for a couple of roots of ginger, and
right,
then I want you to get some of that green tea from them, and then take that, and then drink some of that, and then here's some other holistic items that we have because we don't want you to put too much medication in your body, and this should help you with the flu. And if you
right,
start to feel a temperature above this, then we'll send you to the hospital. You know what I
right,
mean?
right,
And if we actually had more medicine like that,
right.
like you know, you you just need some lemongrass, man. you
Right.
know, or you need some other type of grass. You know what I'm saying? I
Or
I'm
both.
just saying.
Or
I'm just
both.
or
Or
both.
both.
Why not both?
Or
Da, da,
both.
da,
Right.
da, 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 da. Yo, I get silly as hell. I'm like, you know what? This thing has been all serious the whole time, we can still have fun and talk about serious issues at the same time,
Absolutely.
because we're not
Absolutely.
going to be some person on, local public television saying, "Oh, we need to give ourselves some health care, and how are we going to do this, and we need to talk to the legislator and blah blah blah." No, 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 no.
You need to be
No,
relatable.
no.
You need to be
That's
relatable
not
to
that's not
people.
what the JB show is.
Right. You need to be.
We're gonna clown and we're gonna educate. We're gonna do both at the same time. Why? Because we're human beings.
We gotta be
We're not
relatable.
drones.
Right. You gotta be relatable to
Yeah,
people.
we're gonna do it.
Right.
Of
Absolutely.
course.
Absolutely. I agree
Yeah.
with that. 100%.
So did anybody find out about the whole ocean spray situation? Please let me know.
Right.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, Beverly, thank you very much about echinacea. That is the shit.
Mhm.
Cranberry sauce and nice vegan bread stuffing and some bean salad, some pumpkin pie. Thanksgiving complete.
Mhm.
Don't you dare make me hungry right now. Don't you dare. Whipple dingle weeble puffin. Okay, that's some French stuff. Don't you dare be making me. Oh, especially
Oh,
you get some good a good pasta salad. Oh Lord.
oh,
No.
you know what?
That'll get my health right up.
The Fred Hampton Leftists, you guys should do like a Thanksgiving thing for the community. That would be nice.
What, bro? What makes you think we're not?
Oh, heard you.
Oh,
Heard
oh,
you.
oh,
Heard you.
oh, oh my Lord. Oh Lord. Look,
I'm
we
doing some
want to do a
traveling
cookout.
now.
We want to do a cookout.
Heard that.
Socialist MMA Nick was saying that we need to do an FHO cookout. He lives in Kansas. I'm
Mm-hmm.
sorry, he lives in Kansas City, Missouri.
Mm-hmm.
We can go out there. It's a good means for when I can travel and when we're not going through this whole COVID situation. Get out there and have some good food, and
This,
we're gonna magically just talk about the issues, because that's how we are.
of course,
But
of
I
course.
think that's something that we should do.
Let me know when you guys do that. 'Cause I will definitely get a plane ticket. I'll definitely travel. Oh, it's confirmed.
It's a co-op, yo.
It's a co-op.
Look, if you guys can find a co-op that makes vodka,
Ocean Spray is a co-op. That's amazing. Love it.
so if you guys can get some Ocean Spray cranberry juice, and then get a vodka that's made in a co-op, pour the two together, and then make this drink called the co-op. Oh, add a little rose water up in that shit. Woo! I'm telling you, we season the means of production up in this motherfucker. Telling you. Whipple dingle weevil puffin. Every single time you comment, I'm probably gonna end up putting your stuff on the screen because I just love seeing your name. But yo, yes, the hamsters are turning.
The co-op. I love it.
Yeah, we're gonna call it the co-op.
I love it. I love it.
Yo, it's gonna be a nice drink, and we're not gonna fill it with a whole bunch of ice like they do, because they want to water it down and they want to save the problem. No, we're giving the whole thing. You're gonna get the whole hit.
No, you should give it like give it
What's
that
up?
fancy ice cube. Give it that fancy ice cube.
Oh yeah.
And then put the cranberry juice and the vodka in there. Yeah.
Yep. And then add a couple cranberries up in there.
Right.
Ooh.
Oh man, I love that.
Look.
Oh,
We're not only trying to provide liberation for everybody, but we're also trying to have some fun while doing it. So this is one of the reasons why. Look, this is why y'all come to the Fred Hampton Leftists, because y'all not only just going to get some education, you guys are also going to get some great political commentary, and you're also going to laugh your ass off. And that's exactly what I want to do.
Well, listen, if there's no vodka company, if there's no vodka co-op, I'm pretty sure you got some comrades out there that probably know how to make vodka.
There is a lane open, people.
Because I actually know people who know how to make beer. I know people that who know how to do that. Yeah.
See, I don't like beer though. That's the
It depends on the beer. It depends on who makes it. It depends on, because there's certain craft beer out there. Because I didn't like beer at first, but when I started branching out and started tasting other crafters who actually can make beer, it's completely different. Completely different.
All right, I'm gonna trust you on that one because
Yeah,
you haven't
yeah.
led me astray yet, bro. So I'm gonna
I love
trust you
that.
on that one.
But yeah, there are people out there. They just obviously they don't have the money to start their own empire or their business, but they know how to. They have the skill to do it. That's the
Mm-hmm.
problem. We as workers, we have the skill set. We just don't have the money. That's usually the problem.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
and the whole part of having our own healthcare infrastructure outside of the government would actually be great for worker co-ops because
Right.
they don't necessarily have to provide healthcare. They can
Right.
basically use that apparatus instead while being able to, be worker owned. So
Right.
it's a lot of different ideas that can
Yeah.
pop up over time, especially when it comes to uh, making sure that we have ownership of the means of production,
It's
including
funny.
healthcare. What's
It's
up?
funny you said. It's funny you said that because me and Quaker Socialists,
Hmm.
we have these deep discussions about that. Just throwing it out there. We're working on some stuff.
I know
We're
you are.
working on some stuff.
I know you are. Y'all, and let me tell you, y'all some beautiful ass people for doing that. I just, ah, mm. So throwing ideas out there that are based in compassion and kindness and love for humanity. This is what it's all about.
Right.
And I look, all you people that have been in the chat, um, that's one of the reasons why these type of ideas appeal to you. It's not because I just want healthcare, me, me, me. No, no, no. You guys are like, I'm sick and tired of seeing people suffer.
Right.
I'm sick and tired of seeing people sick and tired
Right.
needlessly. I'm sick and
Right.
tired of seeing people suffer who are getting blown to bits in other countries. I'm tired of seeing people that aren't giving the value for their labor.
Right.
And it's based in compassion
Right.
and it's based on something that is greater than yourself.
Right.
And that's one of the reasons why I have such a deep love and appreciation for not just my guests like you that come on the show, but also people in the chat that are talking because it means that they see something bigger than them. They see us all connected. And that's
Right.
what it's about, man. Look, being an extremist when it comes to being loving, just like we talked with Dr. Cornell West, you got to be an
Right.
extremist for love. And that's what it's all
100%.
about, man.
100%. I definitely agree.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We have to bring compassion back. We have to
Mhm.
make people we have to give people hope again. And the
Mhm.
problem is that a lot of people lost hope. And it's understandable, but we have to remind them that they have allies. We have comrades out there who do care about you. And that's the problem. We have to reach out to them and let them know that. And sometimes we let life get in the way. Wait a minute, Co-op Imperial Vodka is co-op owned in the UK. Ooh, okay. Uh-oh.
You know what I'm thinking, right? You know. Yeah. All right. Make the co-op, baby.
Right.
All right.
Right. We got to do this.
Two parts vodka, one part cranberry juice,
Right.
ocean spray.
Right.
Don't you get
Right.
that off-brand imperialist shit.
Right.
No. Get that ocean spray and then add a little sprig of, maybe some lime juice.
Right.
Put a couple cranberries in there.
Right.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's what I'm talking about.
We're gonna start.
Because we gonna the
Start a
revolution will not
restaurant.
be televised, but the revolution will definitely be lit. Okay,
Right.
that's what it's gonna be. Oh wait,
Start a
wait, wait, wait,
restaurant.
wait, 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 wait.
Oh, I know people could do that.
Beverly,
I know people could do that. I've had that before. I had
this is my
cranberry.
socialist MMA face.
I had cranberry. I had a cocktail infused with marijuana before. So
Really?
yeah, it's good. I know people can do that.
Tell me more, my brother.
Wait. I can't do it. I know people who can do it, and it's delicious. It's very good.
We'll talk more after the show,
Me and
but
Beverly, right here. Me and Beverly, we're here. We're here. We're here. We're here.
Beverly.
We're here.
See, like I said, compassion, kindness. all these beautiful, all these beautiful people in the chat.
I love that.
I love y'all. Um,
We're gonna start a restaurant, James.
yeah. Oh, don't get me started because I love to eat, and I went to culinary school. Watch out. Robert Hutchins, Cornell West, Chris Hedges, and Richard Wolf are all the terrible trio, and we terribly love them so.
Right.
Troy C, love to make a cannabis smoothies. I love how we just turned this into a conversation about cannabis.
Right. Right. I haven't had a cannabis smoothie. I had a cannabis popsicle though.
Yeah.
I had that.
Wait, what?
Cannabis
I just
popsicle.
registered.
Yeah, cannabis popsicle. They exist. They exist.
Oh Lord!
So what you do is once you infuse the cannabis, the CBD into the juice, right? Then you turn it into a popsicle. That's pretty much what you do. Yeah, it's delicious.
Boy, y'all about to get me in trouble up in here. Yep. And we're gonna be, getting that CBD oil in so that I don't have to become addicted to all these opiates and shit.
My uncle makes cannabis cream.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he makes cannabis cream. He can do that. It's really good.
Oh wow.
It's really good for your skin.
For joints and stuff?
Yeah, it's good for joints and it's good for your skin too.
Because you know what I heard, and a lot of people. Sorry, Oh, hold on.
I love that.
See, now I'm gonna watch Dave Chappelle with the Rick James skit. But what the hell was I gonna say? Oh, yeah. Okay, so yeah, there was a friend. Was it a friend or a coworker? He said that he had an aunt or uncle, no, an aunt that had cannabis, THC infused alcohol that she would rub on her joints. From Jamaica. She would have, joint problems and start rubbing that on her joints. And this actually reminds me of the tweet that I put out about how CNN is now starting to put out stories about how dangerous cannabis is. And I'm like, hold on. I'm like, wait a minute. Okay, you guys are talking about how dangerous it is. Number one, I've never met. It's empirically true that nobody's ever truly overdosed on it. But the fact that you guys are starting to make it sound dangerous again with that war on drugs narrative, it means that the big pharma is now on their asses and saying we need to stop this because we want to get this market on lock before anybody else does.
Right, and also too, they're taxing the share out of it. So I'm thinking. Speaking of restaurants, I'm thinking about doing a food truck with cannabis. Oh, and so the problem in New York as of right now is not so much of doing it. The issue is the taxation on it. It's really difficult. Yeah. And they got to make their money. They got to make their money.
Yeah, and
cannabis is medicine.
Yeah, it is.
It's very healing.
Yeah. I mean, and there's many foods out there that can be med. Like, if they feel this way about cannabis, then what about some other things that we don't really hear about? There's like some different roots and things like that that we don't really see advertised much that really could be very healing for us. But the big pharma, they just don't want us to know about it.
They want to keep you medicated. They'll keep you medicated.
Yeah, and
because they don't make money. They don't make the money. The reason why they have to destroy the they have to have these negative talking points against cannabis because they haven't figured out a way how to tax it. The way they would so they can make money on it. Once they start making money on it, they won't have those same talking points anymore. I guarantee it. Yeah. They'll sound very hypocritical about it.
Yeah,
we figured out a way to make cannabis great for everybody.
Yeah, and no, and it's like no, you haven't. And the fact that it can grow pretty much very easily in many places, it's like there's that whole supply and demand. They can't really commodify off of it because all I got to do is get a couple of seeds and boom, in my own house I have a grow room and I can make my own. Like
Right.
What do we need you for? That's
Right.
what the big pharma is worried about. What do we
Right.
need you for?
Right.
And
Right.
we won't need them for a whole lot, if
No, for
we
sure.
keep going. So I mean, yeah, there's so many ways in which, and we didn't even get on medical device factories. How manufacturers, how they try to screw people, as far
Yeah.
as stealing our health.
Yeah. The fact that like even people who, let's say, healthcare isn't so much like in this country a big deal for them, people who are privileged enough to ever afford it, like they are charging you an arm and a leg for the devices, and that's a problem for a lot of people too, for
Hmm.
sure. It's so many different avenues. I think that once we start plugging into our community about what how do we solve this issue, again we're talking about
Hmm.
investing in our own healthcare future, I think we're going to be set for sure.
Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Bill Bradley. Hello, still there?
Hello, I'm here. I can hear
Okay.
you.
Okay. Bill Bradley says, imagine a pain management doctor telling you to smoke pot instead of denying you service for a dirty drug test. Yeah.
That's what's necessary.
Yeah.
That's
You
necessary
know,
for sure.
um, Whipple Dingle Wiggle Puffin. Hemp and cannabis are very close relatives, but hemp doesn't contain nearly as much THC. Hemp is an incredibly renewable resource for building materials, clothes, paper, all sorts of things. Yes, they know this and they don't like it because that
Right.
means it's going to make things less profitable for them. That's why
Right.
they don't like hemp.
Like again, that's why if they haven't figured out a way to tax you on it, and they can't make money on it before you do, then that's why it's illegal. That's
Hmm.
why they destroy it. They make it sound evil.
Hmm. Yeah, Lucky Burrito. Actually, that's a really good point. Address this as a natural plant. What if tomato plants were discovered to heal something? Would they ban? Of course they would
They
ban.
would. Of course they
Look,
would. Of course they would.
yeah,
100% they would.
look, it's just like they said in Michael Moore's documentary Sicko. There's no money in curing people.
Zero.
Nothing.
Zero. There's none. Zero.
They
There's
don't.
no incentivizing that.
They don't want it.
If they could, these would be an argument.
Hmm.
If they could make money of making more money, making sure you're healthy, they would do it. They would make sure you're in perfect health.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So, I mean, that's pretty much. We discussed many ways about how, you know, um, wait, American flags were made from hemp.
Hmm.
Wait, hold on. My bad. Hang on. Oh, here it is.
That's all right.
American flags from hemp. If that's the case, then that would be hilarious.
Right. I wouldn't be surprised.
Burn a flag and get high. All right. I think I'm demonetized. But anyway, whatever. But yeah, so
Okay.
um,
Yeah,
so
I love
yeah,
that.
the whole uh, issue about our health being stolen, it comes in so many different forms, like we said over the last couple hours. I cannot believe we're you know at our 2 minute warning. Um, it's just this has been a really great conversation.
It has. It really has.
Uh, and so yeah, I think that some of the ideas that you put out here
Hmm.
will pique a lot of our viewers' interest.
Yes. We need that. No, yes, I love that. We need that. We need
Yeah.
we need new voices, and we need new people in getting involved in activism, because we can't think of all the ideas ourselves. I
Yeah.
want people. I personally don't have any like ego or like any like I don't want to have any monopoly on activism, which is weird. Like people do get like in their own like, and I'm pretty sure you've seen this on the left. People
Hmm.
get very territorial about certain things, and I feel like we need as many hands on deck. Many hands make light work, so we need more people in the space to like come up with new ideas and come up with new suggestions, and also
Hmm.
even have if they have other connections to different things that might be helpful in this fight, we need to open to that. We need to be extremely open to that.
I love you people. Oh my
Mary
goodness.
Ross was a Quaker Revolution made the first flag from hemp. Wow, that's amazing. I love that. Yeah. Quaker Socialist, she is on it. She's awesome.
Yo, I'm telling you, basically hemp is an American tradition.
It
So we
is.
should go back to it, shouldn't we?
We should go back to it. 100%.
Oh my goodness. These people in the chat, they're amazing.
Yeah,
Um okay. Thank you so much, Optimism, as
of
well.
course,
Growing hemp is great for the soil. In my state, though, you have to be licensed to grow hemp. Check
of
for the
course.
regulations in your state to see how it's someplace to grow. That's awesome. Um, look,
They gotta
we're
make this. They gotta make the money.
yeah. Um, so with that, we're gonna leave it at that. It is now reaching the end. Sharif, where can they find you, and other organizations that you represent?
Oh, they can find me on Twitter at I am for Medicare fraud. That's IAM the number four, M4A, and then also at Twitter, M the number four, M the number four, and then all spelled out. That's March for Medicare for All, and then you can also go to our website as well. That's Medicare for m4all.org. That's
Hmm.
where you can find us and get involved, get engaged. I also would hope that people who watch your channel, James, and the Fred Hampton Leftists in general, they actually message you guys, get involved, get engaged, and say how they can be involved in the community because you guys are beyond just podcasters. You guys are also activists. You know, you guys want to activate your audience. And so that's really important. So even if they're not engaged in the March for Medicare for All or any other group, you know, just by them being engaged with your channel and being on the network, they should, you know, communicate with you guys and figure out how we can better serve the community because that's all that's important. It's 100% important. It's needed.
Yeah,
We can't just
definitely.
have one of us. If one of us is doing it, it's not going to be enough. We need everybody. We need all hands on deck.
Definitely. Yeah.
Yeah,
Thank you so much.
yeah. Absolutely. Thank you again, man.
Yeah, yeah. Sharice Scruggs, everybody. Uh,
Yeah.
thank you so much for coming on. Your wealth and depth of wisdom is much needed in this fight, and I am privileged to have you on. Thank you so
Oh,
much.
likewise. Thank you so much, man. We'll
Thank
talk
you.
again.
Yeah, we'll definitely will.
All right.
Yeah. Mm.
All right. Goodbye,
Um,
everybody. Have a good night, everybody.
Good night. So for me in my show, starting next week, I will be having on Rob Beekner from Political Fight Club, and we will have a discussion. Be sure to check out the roundtable this Thursday, as well as my show next Sunday at the same time, 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. This is the JV show, and as always, I'll see you in the next one.